and welcome. You're watching Moneycontrol. Our special coverage on elections 2019 is on. Well, it is the D-Day and counting of votes has already begun, and today is the day when we will come to know who will get to govern India for the next 5 years. And in this special show, we'll be speaking to you about markets. How are they expected to trade today, and how are you as investors supposed to take your positions today? How are you expected to trade your positions today? I'm Sakshi Batra, and with me is Kshitij Anand. He's the markets editor at Moneycontrol. Good morning, Kshitij.
Morning.
It is the big day, the day that we have been waiting for. Over the last 1.5 months, we have seen the kind of volatility and the dance that markets have been doing to the tunes of democracy, really. What are you expecting for markets from today?
Morning, Sakshi, and good morning, viewers. Well, definitely, it's a historic day for, it will be a historic day for Indian markets. We've already seen history in the making in the past week. But in the run-up to the elections, Sakshi, we've already seen Sensex and Nifty hitting a fresh record high.
Yes.
In fact, Sensex hit a fresh record of 39,571, while Nifty 50 inched towards 11,883.
Oh, yes.
Right. But, if we look back at the month of May, it has been a roller coaster ride for investors. Why? We started off the day with 9 days of consecutive fall.
Oh, yes.
Right. And, definitely it can't be attributed to political uncertainty, because there were, global cues, there were, trade talk concerns, crude oil pricing reaching to record highs or, towards $74 a barrel. So definitely there were other concerns which really contributed to that fall. And definitely not to exclude the earnings, which have, largely been in line or below estimates. So definitely, that fall was much to do with that. But then again, in the last week, after the exit polls, we saw the best day in last 10 years. Sensex rallied by what, 1,400 points. Nifty 50 saw a jump of 400 points. So definitely, there was cheer all around. One thing is for certain that, the market has actually factored in a sort of a majority government or NDA getting a majority or a seat share of more than 270 seats. So definitely that is something which is factored in.
Yeah.
What is not factored in is something, no majority probably for the NDA. So that is something which, we really have to watch out for. Apart from that, if you look at the global cues at this point in time, they remain fairly muted. So definitely, at least for now, investors are going in, or the market is going in with no expectation at this point in time. It's pretty neutral. If you look at the foreign institutional flows, FIs have actually sold more than 8,000 crores in the month of May. But post-exit polls, we saw inflows of nearly 2,000 odd crores. So definitely that's a positive sign, and DIs have been net buyers throughout. So
absolutely. So Kshitij, but yesterday, overnight, we have already seen that the US markets have slipped into the red.
Right.
The beginning of today's trading session in Asia has already been muted as well. And that is on the back of the trade tensions which are again surfacing.
Right.
US-China trade tensions, which have been again one of the prime causes of the markets falling right now. So SGX Nifty again showing a muted trend for today. So global factor is playing part, at least in the morning trade for now. Of course, how the counting begins and how they progress, we will again be focused back on the democracy and the political front, what kind of cues we get from there.
Right.
But for the morning trade, what seems right now is an opening in the negative.
Absolutely. I mean, we could say that it could be a muted opening, Sakshi, but then again, the larger trend will be dictated by what happens in New Delhi or what happens in the poll. So, a clear majority and in fact a seat share more than 300 seats could actually bring about 12,000 mark. That's what we keep on talking about. So definitely it's plausible, if not today, at least in May series. That's what most experts have been talking about. In fact, we conducted a poll recently, just 2 days back, and most of the experts, or at least 50% of the experts feel that there's a high possibility, if in case NDA manages to get a majority, there's a higher probability of Nifty hitting 12,000 mark probably today. If not 12,000, we should be able to hit a fresh record high and then see some bit of profit taking happening towards the close of the session. So at least what most experts are saying at this point in time is that upside remains fairly limited, because most of it is sort of really factored in at this point in time, or the good news is sort of built in the prices at this point in time. But what is not factored in is the bad news. So if in case we see an adverse outcome which is absolutely opposite to what we saw in exit polls, there's a higher probability of a downfall. In fact, the downfall could be 3 to 5%,
Yeah.
downtick in just single day, and that is today. So in fact, whatever global cues are, I'm not too sure whether that's a cause of concern for Indian investors per se.
Right.
But definitely they'll have a role to play in the morning trade. But then again, post I think 10:30, 12, the larger trend will be dictated from New Delhi and not from anywhere else.
Absolutely. So I need to ask you about the FII flows. You did mention that in May we have already seen 8,000 crores worth of selling from FIIs. But in case the majority happens, like the NDA comes back to power with a majority, will the sentiment of FIIs really change from here?
Well, we put out the same question to experts as well, and the most apt answer for that is yes, they'll come back. But then again, the selling or the larger selling that we've been seeing in Indian market is not because of political uncertainty per se, but it's more to do with emerging markets. We've been seeing outflows not just from India, but across emerging markets. So definitely we are part of that basket.
Yeah.
So if telling about getting a majority is definitely the one up thing. Definitely it'll add to the certainty. Most of the global investment banks are or neutral or underweight on Indian markets. So definitely, if that comes in, we'll be able to see more inflows from global investment banks as well. So definitely, to answer your question, whether it will add to FI optimism, definitely it will add to FI optimism, but that might not be the straightforward reason why FI has pulled out money from Indian markets.
Right. Now I have to ask you about the technicals and how traders need to position themselves on a historic day like today. Now this is a very, very important day, and the way the votes will come out and the results will start pouring in will actually dictate the movement of the markets as
Absolutely.
well. So what is the best way how traders can position themselves today?
Well, at this point in time, if we look at yesterday's, pattern, Sakshi, we formed a doji kind of pattern. Again, even though we sort of closed in the green, but the pattern that we formed on the charts was a doji candle, which literally means that it's indecisiveness among bulls as well as the bears.
Sure.
And that happened ahead of the event. Right, so definitely what it means is that no one is really sure as to where the market is going.
Sure.
Right, so three crucial levels to watch out for today would be in terms of technicals. That is 11,400.
Okay.
If you remember now, that was the level which was formed on Fridays.
Yeah.
That was the Friday closing before we saw a mammoth or gigantic or monster rally
Right.
on Monday post exit poll.
Right.
So definitely crucial support will be at 11,400. Now another support will come at 11,100. If you remember, we talked about this 100 days exponential moving average.
Sure.
When we saw 9 days of
Consecutive
fall, Nifty 50 reached 100 days exponential moving average, took support at 100 days moving average, and then crucial support is again at 200 days moving average. So definitely 11,400, that's your first support. The next support will come at 11,100. In case we do see a rise, the first resistance will be at 11,883, which is the record high level. If we cross that level, the next resistance is at 12,000.
All right, so next level or the resistance level will be at 12,000. Now, all important question will be for long-term investors. If the NDA comes back to power and with the majority that we are seeing already in the exit polls, if that happens to be a reality today as well, what are the sectors that are going to be important, and what are experts really saying? Where should you place your bets if NDA comes back to power? Which are the sectors that are going to be really taking the markets higher?
Right. So in fact, we put across this question to experts, and they've given us a lot of stocks that are crucial for the next 5 years as
Sure.
well, and sectors. So definitely, if we see a continuity of reforms, one sector which is going to benefit the most is banks as well as the agriculture or the economy linked sector. So we'll see good amount of traction coming in the consumption sector, in the banking space. Private banking banks, private sector banks looks as a good bet. So and another thing is that small and mid caps, which have been beaten down since 2018, they could see a bounce back.
Right.
Why? Because there's more room for upside in small and mid cap stocks. So definitely select small and mid cap stocks are the ones which are good bets for investors at this point in time. We spoke to Kotak Securities and they've given us a couple of names. So investors could look at buying Mahindra & Mahindra, SBI, Colgate as well as Power Grid. Angel Broking suggests that investors could look at HDFC Bank, RBL Bank, Bata India, Maruti Suzuki or Bindu Pharma. Narnolia Financial Advisors preferred L&T, ICICI Bank, Ultratech Cements and Britannia. And Sakshi, if you look back, in the last week, we have seen a large amount of rally, or the maximum rally seen in the blue chip stocks. So banking stocks have been hitting fresh 52 weeks highs in the week gone by. SBI, ICICI Bank, HDFC Bank, HDFC. So all these blue chip names are really leading the rally at this point in time. So definitely any bad news, we could see some bit of negative reaction on those.
Sure. But you know, as you just said, that largely a majority is factored into the markets, and it is not impossible for touch that magical 12,000 mark on the Nifty if we see the same results as we saw in exit polls as well for the Nifty as well. But how long will the rally really sustain is my last question to you.
Well, that's a tricky one, Sakshi, and I can hope that I can answer that correctly or promptly. The rally should hold, you know, because why we say that is because the downside is fairly limited. So if in case we do see a downside, which is also important, you know, why we say that, if in case you and I have to buy a stock, I don't want to buy it at a high level. You know, I want to buy it probably at a cheaper price, and when the cheaper price will come, we'll only at a dip. So both things are important. You know, we have to have a rally, we have to have some downside, because the you know, the money which is on the sidelines can come in. So definitely at this point in time, when we say downside is limited is because people who are already on the sidelines will come in. So definitely, you know, when I say that 11,400, 11,100, so if in case we do dip towards that, it's nothing negative, believe me, because there's a lot of money chasing the market at this point in time. There's a lot of support, there's a lot of fighting power around about 11,100, 11,000 odd levels. So definitely, if in case we do get a dip, I think that's the best chance to go and buy it.
Absolutely. Thanks a lot then, Kshitij, for sharing all those insights with us. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition. What we can say for markets as of now is markets have actually priced in an NDA majority. A result similar to this will definitely be good for the markets. 12,000 mark is what we are looking at, and it is not impossible to achieve that for the Nifty today if the result comes in line with what we saw in exit polls. Thanks a lot for watching this special edition, but you don't go anywhere. Stay tuned to Moneycontrol.com, as through today the coverage will continue. We will get you the best voices of politics and markets to get you all the views. Thanks a lot for watching. Stay tuned.